Ash Pollard, and this is my 2002 Iveco Daily camper that I built myself over the period of about 9 months. I've been looking at camper vans for a while and figuring out what the best route to take. I've always wanted one. Obviously they're so expensive to buy, like a pre-built one, you know, especially for someone my age. It's a little bit ridiculous. So obviously the only choice was to make my own van conversion, but it was just a case of finding one for not too much money in good enough condition. When I bought this one, it was pretty knackered. I didn't realise it was that bad. Obviously when I bought it, I paid £1,000 for it, which probably should have been a clue, but yeah, it was quite bad underneath. The rust, and you know, the inside of the back was all rusted out and knackered. But the engine only had 128,000 miles on it, I think, when I bought it. Which for something like this, from the research I've done, is pretty much nothing. I've seen these for sale with 500,000 miles on them, which is crazy. We've just got back from our first big trip. Me and my girlfriend, we did about 10,000 kilometres around Europe. We went all around Scandinavia, you know, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and it was unbelievable. We went for just over a month, but nonetheless it was brilliant. It showed me the decisions that I'd made that were good, and a few little niggle bits, but nothing that can't be easily changed. The layout worked perfectly. If you step inside, the first thing you sort of see is the seating area. So it is like a separate area that's not in the way, you know, but it's always there, so like we don't have to move anything. See, that's the key that I wanted with this van, not to have to change it whenever we want to do a different thing. Like to sleep, you don't have to build your bed, or when you have dinner, you don't need to build your table, and you know what I mean. But that's what I didn't want. I wanted it to all just be like a house, essentially. So everything's there where you need it, and you don't need to do anything different. But yeah, so that's the seating area. Under both seats there is storage. Under the back one is the fridge hidden away, a little cooler fridge. It's not amazing, but it does the job. The cooker's powered by LPG, which is cool because it means we can just go to the petrol station wherever there's obviously LPG, and just fill up from there, and there's no messing around swapping bottles and things. It's just a refillable one. You put it in once and then that's it. You don't need to think about it. So that works great for my tea addiction, which is a must. So I was saying about the batteries. We do have solar on here on the roof. There's a 300 watt solar panel, one big one, like a house panel, and it, when the sun's out, like, you can run everything on the van at once and it doesn't affect it. So it has worked out really well. But yeah, so I didn't really know a lot about the solar before I started this, and I just found the tutorials and things on how to put it in, and yeah, relatively simple really. Like, every part of this van made the initial plan to do it, and I thought about these bits like the gas and the solar. I was a little bit nervous about it, obviously, because I've never done anything like this before, and I thought I was just going to run into problem after problem. But to be honest, it was actually relatively simple doing those things, as long as you take your time and think about it and have a plan. That's the main thing. Moving on to the sleeping area. I went with a slightly different design to most people in that I put the bed up high, and that gives us a lot more storage underneath. But there is enough room. It does look quite cosy, which it is. You can't sit up without having to bend your head a bit, but that doesn't really bother me, because at the end of the day the bed is just for sleeping, and then once you wake up in the morning, then that's it, you get out, don't you? But then that then frees up all that space underneath, which you'll see is a lot. So that's why I went down that route. Down the side of the bed and above the seating area is the storage for like clothing whatever else. It's just like sliding doors, quite big, you know, plenty. Like we didn't even fill it all. Obviously my girlfriend in there as well with all her clothes, and we still didn't manage to run out of space. So just above the bed in the middle is my roof hatch that I built myself. There's another video on my channel talking about that if you're interested. But that is so good, because obviously that space is quite small. Having that roof hatch there, you open that and that takes any of that claustrophobic feeling and just throws it out. You can literally stand up on the bed and look out wherever you are, and because the van's so high, you know, it's awesome. I'm glad I put that in. Come back into the middle and open the garage doors. You can sort of see in a bit, and that's one of the bikes. The other one's out at the minute. Yeah, when I was saying about the space, that means we can fit 2 push bikes in there standing up. We don't need to take them apart or anything, and there's still plenty of room. So a lot of people, when they have their, you know, the bed lower, they'll take the push bikes, but they'll have to take wheels off and things like that. And I didn't want to do that, because then I'm not going to be bothered to get it out. If I've got to build it every time, that's gonna make me lazy and not want to take it out. But yeah, so in the garage area, like I say, we've got the room for the push bikes. Then on the right hand side there's all storage, fluids and whatever else we need, and then the electrical panel is at the back with the batteries and where the solar comes down, and that's the sort of main centre for the whole van. All the electrics come out of this area, and there's still plenty of room, even with all the bikes in here and everything loaded up. There's still plenty of room for other stuff if we needed to carry anything else. So have a quick look at the front cab area of the van as well, because I did a lot of work in here. I carpeted the whole thing, reupholstered the dashboard, suede headliner, new seats, put some leather seats in there because obviously the van seats are a bit rubbish. That little table in the middle, made that and screwed it. There's a subwoofer underneath there. I just wanted to make it look a bit nicer in there, because obviously we're going to be spending so much time driving. I want it to be nice, comfortable, you know, a nice place to be. There's a full tour video of the van. It's not very well shot, but the information is there. If you want to watch that, I'll put a link in the description of this video. That explains all of this and more details about everything else as well. But yeah, so I mean, if you're thinking about getting a motorhome or a camper van, I would highly recommend that you consider building your own. It might seem massively daunting to think about it now, but once you get into it, like I've done this with no experience. Like I said, I've learned so much building this. Like before this, I didn't know how to weld, but once I ripped out the floors when I first got the van, and it was as bad as it was, I've had to learn how to weld from scratch and do so much structural work to repair it all. But that's just because I bought a knackered van. Anything you don't know, you just have a look on YouTube and you can pretty much find it, or Google, and if you can't, just make it up as you go along. That's basically what I did. You know, like with the roof hatch, there wasn't any tutorials on that, so I just figured it out, really. If you're comfortable like using a drill and a saw, you could pretty much build this. I know that sounds a bit mad, but it's not. It's time consuming, and doing it on your own, yeah, it can be difficult at times, but once you make a start, it's not that bad. And the money you save is unreal. The van cost me $1,000 and the conversion cost about $4,000 for everything. That's including all the metal and stuff for the structural, and I did a lot of work on the engine and the mechanical side just to refresh it all, you know, new discs all around, pads and tyres, everything. Because I did it all myself, it just saved so much money. Like you'd be mad not to consider it. Yeah, it's not for everyone, I know that, but you got to at least think about it, because then you can have anything you want. Is if there ever is a problem, you know how to fix it because you built it. It's the freedom, isn't it? That's what you get from doing this and owning this. It's that freedom that any time you can just turn the key and go wherever you want. You fancy a little trip, you just get in it and go. And it's all there, it's all ready to go. That's the beauty of it, especially at my age as well. I'm 24, and you know, most people my age wouldn't own something like this because I built it myself and I can have it. I don't need to wait until I retire to have the motorhome like most people do. But anyway, it's time for me to stop rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll leave you with this beautiful time lapse from Germany. Thanks for watching.